The narcissist is really good at mirroring you. They mirror you so that you feel like you're gotten for the first time, that someone gets you, sees you, understands you like never before. But what's really behind that? Watch this video. Hey guys, welcome to my channel. If you're new, please click the little subscribe button, the bell to receive notification when I release a new video. And if you've been with me for a while, thank you so much and welcome back. As usual, the Patreon link is below if you want to receive worksheets and assignments after this video. Moving forward, let's dive into this. So many people who are recovering from love addiction or narcissistic abuse or toxic cycles come to me and say the same thing. No one is ever going to get me like they did. I'll never feel like that ever again. I'll never feel like I've had my person. I'll never feel that intimately connected and at the same time so very devastated by that shift. So I'm going to explain to you what's really going on. First of all, you guys know it's a big topic for me, emotional mirroring. In fact, in my inner work course, it is week 1. We start there. And by the way, if you don't know about inner work, it is my 8-week program live with me for 90 minutes every single week for 8 weeks. We dive into 8 weeks of a structured approach to completely healing the inner child from front to back, from start to finish. So we get all the steps in so that these relationships are no longer your reality, so that the maybe imperfect relationship to self is no longer your reality. And we start with mirroring because that is where the original wound starts. All attachment trauma begins in childhood. And one of the main traumas, especially if you're a highly sensitive person, is not being emotionally mirrored, not having someone mirror or match your emotional truth, your perception of your reality, your thoughts, your feelings, your behaviors. No one is saying to you, that makes sense. I understand you, honey. In fact, many of us had parents that were narcissistic or emotionally wounded or immature themselves, so they would do little tactics to punish us when we had emotions or abandon us, or worse yet, just totally neglect in all ways. So we have a void and a lack of mirroring. And when we're looking for someone's validation, approval, mirroring, we are very vulnerable to narcissistic type people because not only are they amazing at mirroring, and what that means is they function from a false self. So they're not having an authentic self of wants and dislikes, likes. They're not having that. They're having, what am I going to be today? What's this image I'm going to project? So when they're into you, they've studied you. They see what you like, what you don't like, and they mirror that so they can feel that connection, which is false. But to them, that's better than nothing. And also when they get you hooked, that is when they start turning. That is when they start saying, okay, now she's hooked. She or he knows that I am like no other because I'm just like them in many ways. And I'm all the things that they never had that they need, right? Because that inner child wound of that void is now being filled by someone who's mirroring you. But also what they do is they love bomb you. And since you have that void, this is a perfect situation, isn't it? It is for a while when you feel like someone really sees me, someone really gets me, someone really approves of the things that I am. They're just like me. This is like fairy tale land. This is the best fantasy ever because here I am. I belong and I'm part of something and I don't even have to try. It's just my authentic self and they totally get my authentic self. That's what we're led to believe. So it makes sense, doesn't it? It makes sense why we fall into these addictive type relationships, why we fall into loving this mirroring. It makes sense that we would. But what happens as soon as they've mirrored us long enough to make us see that we are committed, we are into them, we are hooked, what they do is they create a trauma bond. That is the love bombing, the mirroring, and then I'm going to pull it away. And then they see you be like, oh, what should I do to get that back? Did I do something wrong? What's going on? Oh, here it's back. You pleased me. Oh, okay, now I know how to be. Now you're being trained. Now you're being courted into this. And so what you have to realize is This is a cycle. And you'll notice once you're involved with someone like this, you will have this cycle of push-pull. You have the cycle of mirror, 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 pulling back. Then you're in this crazy making zone of why did they pull back? Did I do something? I don't know. I mean, they're my perfect person, so I must have done something. And it reminds me of my childhood. My mom would pull away, so I must have done something. And then you get a little hit, and you're like, oh, it's back. So now the dopamine is going, right? And now you're like, okay, now you're trauma bonded. You are bonded through your past unresolved trauma. Now this person is bringing up the old unresolved attachment injury, which is an insecure attachment, right? So the fact that they are mirroring you and pulling that away creates that insecurity, creates that unhinged feeling of not being grounded, not being in yourself, not being certain of yourself. And it makes you even more vulnerable for more of their shit. It makes you more vulnerable to be molded. It makes you more vulnerable to be groomed to do what they need. To say, oh God, I'll do anything for that mirroring again. I'll do anything. Think about that feeling. If you've been in it, you know what I'm saying. And so how do we get out of this? First, understanding it, right? That's no. Well, number one is always awareness. Number two, practice self-mirroring. I don't mean just looking in the mirror. I mean like look at yourself. Wait a minute. Why did I just get pulled into that? What just happened? What happened in my body? What did I feel? What did they say or not say? And how did I react? What was my visceral response? Okay, if my response was terror, anxiety, listen to that. That is a pink flag that turns into a red flag that's reminding you of your past situation that you band-aided for a really long time. And we can band-aid, we can run from fantasy to fantasy to fantasy. And as soon as it gets really real, we need to find a new fantasy, right? That's going to be another video. But for those of you listening to me right now who's been in trauma bonds and been with narcissists and been love bombed and been mirrored, I want you to know that it's fake. I want you to know that as soon as you have a year of no contact with them, you're going to look at them and be like, wow, they are not like I remember, because now they're mirroring somebody else, right? You can gain from this. You can see the person you're in love with that's mirroring you and realize it's an invitation to fall in love with yourself. Since they are mirroring you and you love them, they are mirroring you. When they're pulling back and doing the things that they do, that's not a reflection of you. That's a reflection of them. That's a reflection of them trying to manipulate you to need them and their mirroring. When they know that you need nothing but your own self and your own mirroring, they don't have a place in your world because you wouldn't put up with it. So we need to practice mirroring, checking it out. Mirror your own emotions. What just happened there? Let me really look at this. Let me really dive deep. Let me really see this thing I think I'm getting from them to fill this void. How do I fill it on my own? You have to. You have to fill it on your own. Every time you go back into codependent patterns, right? I just did this video about having codependent thoughts, even though you're not codependent. When we are in codependency recovery or we are codependent no more and we start to have those thoughts, they're always involving one thing, other. So when you're thinking of this other person all the time and you're ruminating, what I want you to do is a simple thing. I used to do this and I love this so much. I would ruminate obsessive thoughts, right? That's part of your recovery. And you just want to run back, and you don't, and you don't, and you don't. And over time, you start to feel pretty good, pretty relaxed, pretty regulated. And then that something happens to trigger you wanting to go back. And what you have to think is, I didn't do anything wrong. I'm not missing out. We are okay. You're ruminating because you're like, are we okay? What does this person think of me? Are they thinking of me? Say to yourself, yeah, all is well. You did nothing wrong and there is no big disconnect. Because when we're children and we need our mother to love us and give us that attention and we have like some kind of a disconnect, we are hyperventilating until that gets resolved, until there is repair. And in many of our childhoods, there wasn't any repair. So we'd always have that anxiety until we knew that we were okay again because they're okay with us. This happens with your partner now. So when you have that anxiety or those ruminating thoughts, just sit there with yourself, hand over heart, hand over stomach. We're okay. Everything's okay. We're not in a fight. Everything's okay. This person's okay with me, whether it's true or not. Self-soothe. You don't need them to soothe you anymore because what they'll do is soothe you and then rip it off again. You don't need them. You need you. So try that practice. If you have questions and comments, please leave them below. I adore you guys, and I will see you next week.